Aliens feared the forbidden artifact. The human said, "That's just a music box." The emergency klaxons of the Galactic Preservation Council's flagship Eternal Vigilance had been wailing for 3 standard hours. In the sterile white corridors, beings from 17 different species hurried past with expressions of barely contained panic etched across their varied features. At the center of the chaos sat a small, ornate wooden box. Commander Zithak of the Valorian Empire pressed his 4 primary manipulator appendages against his cranial ridge, a gesture that would have been familiar to any human as a headache-induced facepalm. The 8-foot-tall insectoid had seen many dangerous artifacts in his 2 centuries of service, but none had caused such widespread terror among the Council's most experienced xenoarchaeologists. "Status report," he chittered to his aide, a nervous Quillen whose blue fur had turned several shades paler since the artifact's discovery. "Sir, the psychic resonance readings are unprecedented. The artifact appears to contain some form of temporal manipulation device, possibly coupled with mass consciousness alteration capabilities. Dr. Vexani believes it may be a weapon of existential destruction." Zithak's compound eyes focused on the containment field surrounding the mysterious object. It was roughly rectangular, no larger than a standard data pad, carved from what appeared to be Earth-native wood. Intricate metal inlays formed delicate patterns across its surface, and a small winding mechanism protruded from one side. "Have we determined its origin?" "Preliminary scans indicate it originated from Sol 3, sir, the human homeworld." A collective shudder ran through the assembled scientists. Humanity had only recently joined the Galactic Council, but their reputation preceded them. These were the beings who had looked at the vast emptiness of space and decided it needed more explosions, who had turned their own atmospheric flight into a competitive sport involving metal death traps, who had somehow managed to domesticate carnivorous predators and convinced them to live in their homes for companionship. Dr. Vexani, the Council's leading expert on dangerous artifacts, approached with her usual air of scholarly terror. The Etherean's translucent form flickered with anxious energy patterns. "Commander, I've completed my analysis. This device, it's unlike anything in our databases. When activated, it appears to generate localized temporal distortions while simultaneously broadcasting complex harmonic frequencies that could theoretically rewrite the cognitive patterns of any sapient being within its range of influence. In other words, a mind control device that manipulates time itself, sir. The implications are..." She paused, her form dimming. "Catastrophic." At that moment, the containment bay doors hissed open. Every being in the room tensed as Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Diplomatic Corps walked in, looking remarkably unconcerned for someone about to face what the Council considered a weapon of mass destruction. Chen was typical of her species, relatively small, bipedal, with the unsettling, forward-facing eyes of a predator. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's space service and carried herself with the casual confidence that had made humanity simultaneously beloved and feared across the galaxy. "Commander Zithak," she said with a polite nod. "I understand. You found something that belongs to my grandmother." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Dr. Vexani managed to speak. "Captain Chen, surely you understand the gravity of this situation. This artifact represents a clear and present danger to all sapient life in the galaxy. The temporal distortions alone..." "Oh, that old thing?" Chen interrupted, glancing at the object with obvious recognition. "Yeah, that's just a music box. Grandma Ruth left it to me when she passed. Haven't seen it since the move to New Geneva." The assembled scientists exchanged glances that ranged from confused to horrified. "Captain," Zithak said carefully, "our most advanced sensors indicate this device is capable of playing for Elise," Chen finished. "It's been in our family for like 200 years. Maybe more. Want me to show you?" Before anyone could protest, she walked toward the containment field. The energy barrier recognized her biometric signature, a diplomatic courtesy, and allowed her to pass through. "Captain, no!" Dr. Vexani shrieked, her form flaring brilliant white with terror. Chen picked up the music box with the casual disregard for cosmic horror that her species was famous for. She wound the small key on the side, and every being in the room braced for reality to end. Instead, a gentle, tinkling melody began to play. The lid of the box opened to reveal a tiny ballerina figure that spun gracefully in time with the music. The effect on the assembled crowd was immediate and profound. The Quillinade's fur began to shift through a spectrum of colors that indicated deep emotional resonance. Commander Zythak's aggressive posture relaxed as his species equivalent of endorphins flooded his system. Even Dr. Vexani's panicked flickering calmed to a steady, warm glow. "You see?" Chen explained, watching the tiny dancer with a nostalgic smile. "Humans figured out a long time ago that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is create something beautiful. Music, art, stories. They don't control minds. They touch hearts. They don't manipulate time, they create moments worth remembering." As the melody continued, more crew members began to gather. A maintenance worker hummed along with the tune. 2 security guards unconsciously began swaying in rhythm. The ship's AI even dimmed the harsh corridor lighting to something warmer, more conducive to the gentle atmosphere the music created. But the temporal distortions, Dr. Vexani whispered. "Memory," Chen said simply. "When you hear a song that means something to you, doesn't it take you back, transport you to another time, another place? That's not manipulation, that's connection." The music box played its final notes, the ballerina completing one last graceful spin before coming to rest. The profound silence that followed wasn't filled with fear, but with a strange sense of peace. Commander Zythak was the first to speak. "Captain Chen, I believe we owe your species an apology, and perhaps, could we hear it again?" Chen grinned, the expression that had convinced a dozen species to join humanity among the stars despite their better judgment. "Sure," she said, reaching for the key. "But next time, maybe just ask before assuming the worst about us?" As the melody began again, and the tiny ballerina resumed her eternal dance, the greatest minds in the galaxy learned an important lesson about the difference between power and strength, between control and influence, and about why sometimes the most feared artifacts in the universe were simply tokens of love, passed down through generations. The music box played on, and for a few precious minutes, the vast coldness of space felt a little warmer.